The Woman Next Door. When Sarah and her family moved into their new house at the edge of town, she couldn't help but notice the old, crumbling house next door. The shutters hung loose, and the paint peeled like dead skin. But what really unsettled her was the woman who lived inside, Mrs. Whitmore. The neighbors whispered about her. "She's strange," they said. "Never leaves the house. Talks to herself. Keeps the lights on all night." At first, Sarah shrugged it off. After all, everyone has their quirks. But it wasn't long before things got weird. Every night when Sarah would look out her window, she'd see Mrs. Whitmore standing in the dark, staring directly at her house, not moving, just watching. Her pale face barely lit by the flicker of a candle. One night, unable to ignore it anymore, Sarah decided to confront her. But as she reached the old porch and raised her hand to knock, the door creaked open on its own. "Hello?" Sarah called, her voice shaking. No answer. She stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and something rotting. Old portraits lined the walls, but what made her stop cold were the pictures. Portraits of her family, as if someone had been watching them long before they moved in. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, and she heard the soft tap of a cane coming from the dark hallway. "I've been waiting for you, dear," croaked Mrs. Whitmore, emerging from the shadows. Her eyes, milky white, stared straight at Sarah, though it was clear she was blind. "I knew you'd come. They always do." Sarah's heart pounded as she tried to back away, but the old woman only smiled. "You look just like her," Mrs. Whitmore whispered. "Like who?" Sarah asked, voice trembling. "The last girl, the one who lived here before you. She never left either." A loud creak echoed from upstairs, as if someone else was moving around. "Would you like to meet her?" The old woman grinned, her teeth yellow and sharp. And in that moment, Sarah realized she wasn't alone in the house. And maybe, just maybe, her family was never meant to move in.